name is Mykola Bisovskyi and I'm a junior full-stack software developer recently graduated from devCodeCamp. I'm gonna present my Capstone project today, but before I do that, I want to tell you about my little story, how I became a software developer. My origin is Ukraine, and in 2013, me and my family came to the United States to change our lives. 7 years ago, I decided to become as a truck driver, so my family will be able to survive in a still new country for us. 2.5 years ago, I had my son born, and since then I figured while I'm driving a truck, my son grows up without his father. So I decided to change my career to something that can give me an opportunity to make about the same income so my family, especially my son, can get a better future. Even that, I was following my dream too. When I was in Ukraine and I was 16, I used to work as a salesperson for the company that used to develop some web applications. And I was thinking that would be great to become as a software developer as them. And that's why I'm here. And as you have probably noticed, the name of the application directly refers to my previous occupation. When I was driving a truck, I was thinking that would be great to have some kind of app that will help us, the truckers, to predict the future trucking business market. And it's because it's difficult to stay away from home whenever the market is slow and you cannot find a load that will be able to get you back home. And that's how I came up with an idea to create Trucker Finance Checker. And it's time to talk about the technologies that I have used to create this application. For the backend, I've used Django and Django REST framework with Python as programming language. For the front end, I've used React with JavaScript and HTML with CSS. MySQL Workbench was used as an application to work with databases, and my third-party API was React Google Charts. Here is the Trucker Finance Checker app. I'm gonna go with you together through all the features at this video, and I'm gonna start with the register page to show you the feature that will be able to register an account as an owner operator whenever this checkbox is checked. Otherwise, we are gonna register an account as a company driver. And I'm gonna go and log in as a company driver first. And here you see the home page for this application, some little greeting message over here with the first name of the user. No active trip yet and no completed trip. So this is totally empty profile. And I want to go to the profile page. Whenever we click on the first name, we can go there, and as you see, the trucker status is company driver. The pay rate is set to 0, and the reason is 0, I want to show you another feature. And whenever we go to create a new trip, we go to this form, and as you see, this distance field is unavailable. That's because the pay rate is set to 0. Whenever we change the pay rate to something that more than 0, this field becomes available. And to show you that, I'm gonna go and log in as an owner operator. And I'm gonna go to the profile page, and as you see, the status is owner operator when the pay rate per mile is $2.50. And we can change it, and that's gonna work. I just want to show you that it works. We can change just one of those fields at any time. And then if we go back and we're gonna create a new trip, we see this form here. And as you see, the distance field is available, like I said. And another option that only owner operator has is to set the expected trip income to per trip. So we can choose the per mile income or per trip. The difference between both options is that at the per mile income, the total will be calculated automatically based on the pay rate we set for this profile. Average counts automatically as well based on the completed trips. And whenever we click this per trip, we see the field that we can type in like $1,000, that we're gonna get like $1,000 for the trip. And I'm just gonna go and create something like Detroit to Chicago, Illinois, and it's 240 miles as I know. And we're gonna set to $1,000. Here we are at the home page again, and as you see, we have an active trip now with an income we expected to get from this trip and all that information. And now we have three options available. So we can go ahead and update an information about this trip. So we can do that. But before I do that, I want to tell you that these fields are still required. So I'm working on change them to something like you've seen at the profile page. Whenever we change just one field, the fields that are empty are going to be updated with an old information we set before or whenever we were creating this trip. Okay, so I'm going to go and do Detroit, Chicago, because I don't want to change them right now, but I just want to change the distance to 250 miles, and I want to change that expected trip income type to per mile. And as you see, the total was calculated automatically, and I'm gonna hit confirm. So all that was recalculated, all that was changed. We can finish the trip. I'm not gonna do that right now because I want to show you another feature that I have here. And we can go to cost and we can add some costs to this trip. For example, we had a lunch. Oops. Misspelling. Still. Oh. And then that was $10.50. And whenever we add this cost, we're gonna get this here displayed as well as a date added. And we can go and add another cost, for example, fuel $100. And whenever we add this, we're gonna get this displayed as well as the total is gonna be calculated for those two costs we just added. And if we can go back, you're gonna see that this income has been changed based on the total cost we just added. So, and that's the cool thing, that we'll be able to see the real income without any or with all costs decreased. Then before I end this strip, I want to show you this component that displays us the two most recently completed trips. And we have some information: the date started, date ended, and we see that this trip took like 2 days to complete, and that's about true. Then this trip was created at September 12th, and we have trip income, total, distance, and all that, as well as average for these two trips and total for these two trips. And if I click end trip button over here, we're gonna see this active trip displayed over here. And here it is, Detroit, Michigan to Chicago, Illinois. 250 miles, and that's our income. So average was recalculated as well as total. And from here we can go to the filter trips page whenever we want to filter or see the trips for some chosen period of time. We can do that. So whenever we go to this page at the first time, we're gonna see this. Please enter dates to filter through. And I know that I have some trips seated for February. So I'm just gonna filter to find them. And as you see, I have them here, as well as all the previous information we've seen at the recent trips component. But we can see the cost, the total cost for this particular trip, for example, whenever the trip has some cost. If the trip doesn't have any cost, nothing will be displayed here. And as you see, this text is interactive. That means that we can click on it and that's gonna lead us to another page. So let's go ahead and do that. And as you see, we see some information as well. We just added the launch and fuel. Oh, it's not the one we just added, but the launch and fuel and the amounts and date added. As you see, that was February 24th. And we can go back. Whenever we go back from those cost page, we'll be able to filter trips through again. So as you see, we are getting the previously added dates to filter through. So we can click the filter again and we're gonna see those trips again. And what if I want to go to today's, for example. Today's 15? Yes. So that's our today added trip. And as you see, so we can go and now we can see launch and fuel with today's added costs and stuff like that. And then we can go back. Another thing that I have here, as you have probably noticed, I have some year income and year costs. So these values based on the total income for the past year as well. I mean, the same thing is for year costs. So based on the costs for the past year. And here, some little button that we can click on, and we're gonna go to some awesome page. And that's what I actually meant when I was talking about the app that can predict the future market. Just imagine if we had, for example, like 300 points for the past year. I mean, 300 trips completed. Like, we were working 300 days for the past year, and we could actually complete like one trip a day. But I mean, it's probably not the real thing, but it's possible. So imagine 300 points. We can draw a graph here based on those incomes for trips and costs or expenses. If we're gonna see some peaks whenever we had the highest income, whatever the season is gonna be, we had highest income or the most or the highest expenses or something like that. So based on that information, we can actually decide whenever the market is slow, whenever it's not, and we can decide to do something based on that information. For example, if the trucker decided to take a vacation, but the market is hot right now, so it's a best time to make money. So isn't that better to spend a little bit more time on work and get more money, and then whenever the market slows down, we can take a vacation, and at this point we're gonna lose a lot less money. So that was my point, to create something like that. And I'm gonna show you that we can filter those trips still. So we can choose some period of time. For example, I want to filter that through, for example, from March to today's. What are we gonna see? Oh, we had just 2 trips completed for that period of time. And we can see all the information based on that, as well as filtered totals displayed for trips. This is the total income for trips that we found by filtering, as well as expenses. So again, I know that we have something seated for February, and that's what we see. So we have 4 trips completed, and that's our total expenses, and it's the same as this year income and year cost. That's because these are the only trips we had completed for the past year. And that's a cool thing about this. I kind of like it. If I was a truck driver and I had this app, I would use it for sure, because like I said, it's too difficult to stay far away from home when you cannot find a load, when your dispatch calling you like, oh, there's no load. Like, I mean, I'm just gonna pay you like $100 and you're gonna sit here all day for no reason. I mean, it's difficult. So I prefer like to take a look at this graph and for example, hey, I know that the next week that's gonna be pretty slow, so I decided to take a vacation or something like that. And that's pretty awesome about this. So, and that's it for this application. In the future, again, I'm planning to add some selector here to display some specific information at these points. For example, if I want to see the date started for each filtered trip and distance or something like that. So whenever I check some checkbox here, for example, date started and distance, we're gonna see that information here. Okay, or I want to see just costs, for example, expenses without total or stuff like that. I want to do that as well. So that's the future thing about that, about this app. That's gonna be my next step. And that's pretty much it. Again, my name is Mykola Bisovskyi. Thank you for your time. It really means a lot to me. And I cannot wait to start my journey as a software developer. Thank you.